Carl Jung declared that identity is not chained to the past. You are not the sum of every mistake, every loss, or every victory. You are the living possibility of who you decide to be now. Choice, not history, is the true definition of self. The past is real, but it is not destiny. Events shape you, but they do not have the final word. Each moment places before you the power of choice. With awareness, you can break patterns, rewrite narratives, and create a future untouched by yesterday's shadows. This truth is liberating. Many believe they are defined by trauma, achievements, or opinions of others. Jung's wisdom cuts through this illusion. You are not bound to stories told about you. You are the author, holding the pen to shape your next chapter by conscious decision. To embrace this is to awaken. The victim of circumstance becomes the architect of destiny. Every choice is an act of creation. Every decision affirms identity. The self is not what was done to you. The self is what you choose, again and again, to become. Your past cannot dictate your future unless you allow it to. Destiny is not written by circumstances but by decisions. What happened yesterday is unchangeable, but what you choose today reshapes tomorrow. Choice is the true architect of life, carving paths where none seemed possible. People often cling to the belief that fate controls them. They repeat old patterns, convinced that suffering is permanent. Jung's wisdom rejects this illusion. Fate is often nothing more than unconscious choice. Once you choose consciously, destiny bends. Past becomes teacher, not master, and freedom becomes reality. Choice carries immense responsibility. It means you can no longer blame the past or others for your direction. Every moment you decide who you are. The power is frightening because it removes excuses, but it is also empowering because it gives you authorship of life. The truth is simple yet profound. Your past is a chapter, not the book. Your choices write the ending. Jung reminds us that the future does not belong to memory, but to decision. Your past is not your destiny. Choice is, and choice is always yours. Most people believe they are nothing more than their past. They carry labels of failure or success, trauma or triumph, as if these alone define their essence. Childhood wounds, achievements, and the opinions of others become heavy masks. They confuse memory with identity and history with destiny. This confusion leads to suffering. When you believe you are what happened, you feel powerless to change. A broken relationship becomes a broken self. A lost opportunity becomes a lost future. People forget that identity is alive, not frozen. It is choice, not circumstance, that defines the soul. Jung challenged this illusion directly. He argued that experiences shape us but do not complete us. The past provides lessons, not limits. Identity is never finished. It is renewed each day by decision. To confuse the self with history is to abandon the possibility of becoming. Awakening begins when you separate being from experience. You are not the failures you endured or the victories you celebrated. You are not the image others created of you. You are more. You are the choice that rises in this moment, shaping who you are becoming. Society teaches us to measure worth through achievements. Degrees, wealth, and recognition are treated as proof of identity, yet none of these reveal the essence of who we are. They are milestones, not meaning. To confuse accomplishments with identity is to build the self on fragile ground. Failures carry the same illusion. When we fall short, society whispers that we are failures. Mistakes become heavy chains, convincing us that growth is impossible. But failure is not identity. It is information, a lesson pointing toward new direction. To equate it with worth is self-betrayal. Equally deceptive are the opinions of others. Praise can inflate and criticism can crush, but neither captures the truth of who we are. If our identity depends on outside approval, we live as reflections, not realities. Others' judgments reveal their perspective, not our essence. Jung's wisdom cuts through these illusions. Worth is not earned through medals, erased by mistakes, or defined by opinions. Worth is intrinsic, rooted in the living self that chooses. Achievements and failures are chapters. Opinions are commentary. The true measure of worth is choice guided by authenticity. Your history is real, but it is not your identity. It explains where you have been, not who you are. Each day gives you the freedom to choose again. The self is not a monument to the past, but a living decision in the present moment. People often carry their past like a prison. They replay memories, relive regrets, and confuse scars with destiny. But the past is not a prophecy. It has no authority over today unless you surrender it. The decision you make now has more power than yesterday ever will. The liberation begins when you shift perspective. You are not the child who was hurt, the adult who failed, or the dreamer who fell short. You are the chooser in this instant. Identity is not fixed by history. It is created by the decision you embrace now. This truth empowers transformation. Every choice is a turning point. Every decision is a chance to redefine who you are. Jung reminds us that we are not trapped by what happened. We are set free by what we decide. You are not your history. You are your decision today. Life presents circumstances beyond our control. We do not choose our birthplace, family, or the hardships that arrive uninvited. Yet within every event lies a decision. Response is never predetermined. Between stimulus and reaction, there is space, and in that space resides the freedom to choose who we become. Tragedies strike, accidents happen, opportunities vanish. Many believe these define identity. But Jung insisted that the self is not built by circumstance, but by response. Pain can produce bitterness or wisdom. Failure can lead to despair or resilience. The event itself does not decide. Our choice always does. This truth is both daunting and liberating. It removes excuses. You cannot control everything, but you can control how you respond. Responsibility shifts inward. The power is no longer in external events, but in internal decisions. Response is the brushstroke that paints character onto the canvas of circumstance. Examples surround us. Two people face the same loss. One collapses into despair while the other grows stronger. The difference is not in what happened, but in the choice of how to meet it. Circumstance provides the stage. Response writes the story. Choice determines the ending every time. Each moment is a doorway to transformation. The self is not static, but constantly unfolding. With every breath, you are invited to choose again. Yesterday's mistakes do not imprison you. Each decision can redirect your path. Every moment carries the seed of a new beginning. This means you are never trapped. Even in the darkest hour, possibility remains alive. A single choice can break a cycle that has lasted for years. Every conscious decision reshapes the self. The power to become new does not wait for tomorrow. It exists now in this moment. People often wait for external change to feel renewed. They hope for luck, opportunity, or permission. Jung's wisdom insists the transformation begins within. The new self is not granted by circumstance, but created by choice. Each moment whispers the question, who will you choose to become now? The opportunity is constant. Every reaction, every thought, every action writes identity. To live unconsciously is to let chance decide. To live consciously is to claim authorship. Every moment is a mirror reflecting who you are becoming. And in every mirror you hold the power to choose again. Life often changes not through grand events, but through single decisions. One choice to walk away from what destroys you, one choice to pursue what inspires you, can alter the course of everything. The trajectory of a lifetime bends in the moment you choose differently. History is full of such turning points. A decision to speak truth rather than remain silent, to forgive instead of retaliate, to begin instead of delay. Each decision carries ripple effects, shaping relationships, opportunities, and identity. One conscious act can transform a story once believed unchangeable. The power of decision is underestimated because it feels small, yet it is the seed of destiny. A tiny adjustment in direction eventually creates a different destination. One decision, born of awareness, can dismantle years of repetition. Life does not need to wait. It changes when you choose. Jung's wisdom reminds us that the future is never fixed. You are not condemned to repeat cycles endlessly. The moment you realize the power of a single choice, you reclaim authorship. One decision can rewrite an entire life, and the pen is always in your hand. Much of human life runs on autopilot. The subconscious mind governs reactions, habits, and emotions long before thought intervenes. People repeat patterns not because they want to, but because unseen programming dictates their actions. Without awareness, these cycles continue endlessly, and life feels like fate rather than choice. Jung warned that the unconscious rules until it is brought to light. The same arguments repeat, the same relationships collapse, the same mistakes reappear. People wonder why misfortune follows them, but the answer lies within. The subconscious is not malicious, only mechanical, endlessly replaying what has not been examined. This repetition creates the illusion of destiny. You think life is against you when in truth it is your own unconscious steering the wheel. Until you pause and observe, the pattern continues. The script repeats itself, convincing you that change is impossible, when in fact awareness is the key. Autopilot living robs us of freedom. True choice requires consciousness. To wake up is to interrupt the cycle, to question the reaction, to ask why. Each moment of awareness breaks the loop. Without this, the subconscious drives everything, and we mistake the machinery of habit for the hand of fate. When you live unconsciously, life feels predetermined. Patterns repeat, relationships fail in familiar ways, and problems circle back like echoes. You begin to believe in bad luck or cursed destiny. In truth, it is not fate, but lack of awareness that keeps the cycle alive again and again. Awareness is the difference between prison and freedom. Without it, you act out the same roles written by childhood, society, and fear. You mistake repetition for inevitability. The subconscious becomes a silent author, scripting your life without permission. Fate appears unstoppable only because you refuse to notice the pattern. Jung explained that until the unconscious is made conscious, it directs your life, and you will call it fate. This is the tragedy of ignorance. People surrender power not to destiny, but to blindness. Awareness is the light that exposes the illusion of inevitability and restores choice. The moment you wake up, fate dissolves. You see that what felt unavoidable was simply unexamined. The loop loses power when observed. Awareness does not erase difficulty, but it transforms your relationship to it. Life stops feeling like fate and begins to feel like authorship, born from conscious choice. Jung's famous warning is simple yet profound. The unconscious governs every life until it is brought into awareness. People believe they are unlucky or cursed, but in truth they are driven by unseen habits, unexamined wounds, and forgotten memories. What feels like destiny is often unconscious repetition. The unconscious directs choices silently. You think you are deciding freely, yet your reactions are scripted by past pain. You seek the same relationships, repeat the same mistakes, and encounter the same struggles. Without awareness, the cycle feels like fate. The truth is that fate is often autopilot. To make the unconscious conscious is to awaken. You begin noticing the trigger before the reaction, the pattern before it repeats. Awareness opens the door to freedom. Suddenly fate is no longer destiny, but history. And history can be rewritten through the power of conscious choice in the present. The punchline is unmistakable. If you refuse to face your unconscious, it will rule you. If you dare to confront it, you reclaim authorship. Fate is not fixed. It is disguised ignorance. Awareness unmasks it. Consciousness gives you back your life. Choice is your true destiny, never the unconscious. The first step toward freedom is observation. You must step back and watch your own life with honesty. Notice the habits that repeat, the feelings that dominate, the reactions that rise before thought. These patterns are not fate. They are unconscious programs running quietly in the background. Examination requires courage. It is not easy to admit how much of your life runs without awareness. Habits formed in childhood, fears inherited from others, and responses learned long ago now govern the present. To see them clearly is painful, yet without this clarity, you remain a prisoner of autopilot. Awareness transforms observation into power. When you name the habit, it loses invisibility. When you recognize the trigger, you create space for choice. Step back and examine without judgment. Each discovery is not condemnation but opportunity. The unconscious becomes conscious, and the script of your life begins to change. This practice is ongoing. Life continually offers mirrors. Every irritation, every repeated mistake, every emotional storm reveals what is still unconscious. By stepping back and observing, you reclaim authorship. Autopilot fades, choice returns, and the self emerges stronger. Examination is not weakness. It is the beginning of mastery. Once habits and reactions are exposed, the next step is transformation. Awareness alone is not enough. You must replace unconscious patterns with conscious choices. Every time an old impulse appears, you pause, breathe, and act differently. Repetition of conscious action gradually rewires the mind and builds a new self. This process requires patience. Old programs resist change. The subconscious clings to familiarity even when it harms you. But every deliberate response weakens its hold. Awareness followed by conscious action creates momentum. Over time, the old patterns fade and new ones take root, shaping identity aligned with intention. Replacing unconscious habits is not about perfection. You will fail, stumble, and sometimes repeat the past. The key is persistence. Each moment is another chance to choose again. Conscious living is not about never falling. It is about refusing to remain asleep. Each choice becomes an act of awakening. Transformation comes through practice. Like learning a language or mastering a skill, conscious choice must be repeated until it becomes natural. The subconscious can be reprogrammed. What once enslaved you can become strength. Awareness brings the pattern to light. Repetition replaces it with freedom. This is self-creation. Repetition sculpts identity. Every thought, every word, every action etched into routine becomes character. What you do once is an event. What you repeat is who you are. Habits form the architecture of the self. This is why every repeated choice carries the weight of destiny. People often underestimate the power of small actions. A single moment of kindness seems insignificant, yet repeated daily, it becomes compassion. One lie appears harmless, yet repeated it becomes deceit. Life is not defined by occasional events, but by persistent patterns. What you repeat becomes your reality. Jung's wisdom reminds us that identity is self-constructed. You are the product of what you consistently practice. The unconscious holds your past repetitions, but consciousness allows you to choose new ones. Every cycle you reinforce is a seed. Plant wisely because repetition ensures it will grow into identity. The punchline is simple. What you repeat becomes who you are. Choose your habits, your thoughts, your actions with care. Fate is not distant. It is woven daily through repetition. To change your life, change what you repeat. To change what you repeat, change what you choose today. Jung taught that happiness is not found in the removal of all suffering, but in the presence of meaning. A life without challenge is shallow. True joy arises when even pain serves a purpose, when sadness deepens understanding, and when struggle contributes to a story worth living. People chase comfort believing it equals happiness. They seek a life without discomfort, failure, or loss. Yet without darkness there can be no appreciation of light. Without sorrow, joy loses depth. Happiness exists not in the elimination of sadness, but in embracing life's full spectrum with purpose. Meaning transforms misery. The same difficulty that crushes one person can strengthen another who finds purpose in it. Suffering without meaning feels unbearable. But suffering with meaning becomes bearable, even valuable. The presence of meaning is what allows life to be endured with patience and even gratitude. This is why a meaningful life matters more than a comfortable one. Money and possessions cannot shield from sadness, but purpose makes sadness tolerable. Meaning infuses every moment with significance. Happiness then becomes not fragile pleasure, but enduring strength rooted in knowing why you live and what you live for. Wealth promises happiness but delivers emptiness without purpose. Possessions can fill houses but never hearts. Comfort without meaning becomes boredom. Luxury without direction becomes despair. Human beings are not sustained by things alone. We are sustained by reasons, by significance, by knowing that life is more than accumulation. History is full of people who gained everything the world offered, yet felt hollow. Fortune, fame, and power could not quiet the hunger for meaning. Jung reminded us that riches cannot buy fulfillment. A meaningful life with little wealth is richer than an empty life filled with abundance. Purpose gives wealth its value. Money can build schools, feed the hungry, and support dreams, but only if guided by meaning. Without purpose, wealth decays into greed. With purpose, it becomes service. The difference is not in the possession of riches, but in the intention behind their use. Chasing wealth without meaning is like drinking salt water. The more you consume, the thirstier you become. Purpose quenches the thirst that money cannot. To seek meaning first is wisdom. Wealth may come or go, but a purposeful life ensures richness of spirit that no loss can take away. A life measured by size is an illusion. Many chase vastness, more money, more recognition, more possessions, believing expansion equals fulfillment. Yet vastness without meaning is emptiness multiplied. A small life, lived with clarity and purpose, contains more richness than an empire built on hollowness and disconnection. Meaning magnifies experience. A simple act of kindness can carry greater weight than 1,000 empty achievements. A life lived quietly but authentically radiates more power than one filled with shallow victories. The measure of life is not scale but depth, not quantity but significance. Jung's wisdom dismantles illusions of grandeur. To choose meaning is to choose wealth of spirit. A modest home filled with love is richer than a palace filled with loneliness. A single day of purpose outweighs years spent chasing status. Smallness with meaning becomes greatness in truth. The punchline is clear. Do not chase a vast life at the expense of meaning. Choose purpose over size, depth over scale. A small life with meaning is richer than a vast life without it. Fulfillment is not about how much you have, but how deeply you live. Life does not present events with labels of good or bad. Circumstances are neutral until the mind interprets them. The same event can feel like a curse to one person and a blessing to another. Reality is not what happens, but the meaning we assign to what happens. A challenge may arrive on a good day, and you respond with strength, turning it into opportunity. The same challenge on a bad day may overwhelm you, becoming a source of misery. The event itself has not changed. What changed is your perception, which shapes your experience of reality. Jung emphasized that the world outside is filtered through the world inside. If you see through fear, everything looks threatening. If you see through hope, everything looks possible. Life bends to the lens you use. Events are raw material, and interpretation is the craftsman that molds destiny. This truth gives power. You cannot always change what happens, but you can change how you see it. Interpretation creates freedom. Victimhood turns to resilience. Misfortune turns to wisdom. Beauty can be found in ugliness, light in darkness. If perception is chosen with awareness, interpretation defines reality. Two people can face the same challenge, yet walk away with opposite outcomes. One collapses under its weight, believing life is against them. The other grows stronger, seeing the trial as a teacher. The difference is not the challenge itself, but the perception that shapes the response. A failure can be the end of ambition or the start of wisdom. A betrayal can destroy trust forever or deepen understanding of human nature. The challenge is the same. The meaning we attach to it determines whether it breaks us or builds us into something greater. Perception is a silent sculptor. It turns suffering into despair or into resilience. It shapes memory into trauma or into wisdom. Challenges themselves are neutral stones. Our interpretation carves them into prisons or pathways. This is why Jung insisted that our inner lens determines our outer world. The lesson is profound. You cannot avoid every challenge, but you can decide what it becomes. With perception aligned to growth, adversity becomes fuel. With perception trapped in fear, it becomes poison. The choice is yours. The same challenge can destroy or transform, depending entirely on how you see it. Life constantly brings both joy and sorrow, triumph and loss. People often believe events themselves dictate happiness, but Jung revealed a deeper truth. It is not the happening that defines experience. It is perception, the inner lens that transforms the same moment into blessing or burden. What you call fate is often interpretation. A difficulty can be reframed as growth. An ending can be reframed as a beginning. Two people live the same story, but tell themselves very different versions. Their lives diverge not because of what happened, but because of how they choose to see it. This means freedom lies in vision. You cannot always choose the script, but you can choose the meaning. By shifting perspective, pain becomes teacher, loss becomes clarity, and struggle becomes strength. The power is not in the event, but in the eyes through which the event is seen. The punchline is clear. It is not what happens, but how you see it that changes everything. The world outside bends to the interpretation inside. Awareness of this truth allows you to reclaim power. You are not bound by events. You are bound by perception, and perception is choice. Judgment arises quickly and silently. Most people do not realize they are judging because it feels like truth. They see a person, event, or situation and instantly label it good or bad. These judgments are rarely conscious reflections. They are automatic projections shaped by fear, bias, and past wounds. The danger of unconscious judgment is that it blinds us to reality. We mistake assumption for fact and opinion for truth. This distorts relationships, creates unnecessary conflict, and prevents growth. By judging unconsciously, we condemn others for what they reveal about us rather than who they truly are. Jung emphasized that judgment often reveals more about the judge than the judged. What irritates us in another person frequently mirrors something unacknowledged within ourselves. Without awareness, we condemn them while ignoring the hidden shadow in us. In truth, judgment is a mirror disguised as an accusation. To awaken is to recognize judgment as choice. You can pause, question the story you create, and admit you may not know the full picture. This humility shifts perspective. By suspending judgment, you create space for understanding. Truth emerges not from projection, but from awareness of your own mind. Awakening begins with humility, the recognition that you do not see everything clearly. To suspend judgment is to admit you do not know. This simple act of restraint opens space for truth. It is not weakness to pause before labeling. It is strength born from awareness and patience. Suspension of judgment does not mean abandoning discernment. It means slowing the reflex to condemn and choosing instead to observe. When you resist immediate judgment, you allow reality to reveal itself more fully. What once looked like failure may reveal itself as opportunity. What looked like threat may prove harmless. Humility reminds us that every person has a story unseen. To judge them quickly is to dishonor that hidden complexity. By suspending judgment, you create room for compassion. Awakening is not about being right, but about being real. Humility replaces certainty with curiosity, and judgment with understanding. This practice protects you from projection. When you hold back judgment, you notice your own triggers instead of blaming others. You realize that irritation may come from within, not from them. Awakening requires this courage to look inward. Only humility and suspension of judgment open the door to authentic clarity. Judging is the shortcut of the mind. It offers speed without depth, certainty without truth. Thinking requires effort, patience, and openness. That is why many prefer judgment over thought. Jung's wisdom calls us back to the harder path. Choose to think, because judgment without thought blinds and imprisons. Thinking is difficult because it demands humility. To think is to question assumptions, challenge beliefs, and tolerate uncertainty. Judgment feels easier because it ends the process quickly, but by ending it, you close the door to growth. True clarity comes not from snap judgments, but from reflective thought. When you choose to think, you reclaim freedom. Instead of reacting automatically, you analyze with awareness. You consider possibilities beyond first impressions. You discover nuance where judgment saw only black and white. Thinking slows down the rush of bias and opens the way to understanding and wisdom. The punchline is clear. Thinking is hard, judging is easy. Most will choose the comfort of judgment. But if you choose to think, you step into awakening. You free yourself from illusion. Judgment ends learning. Thought begins it. Choose the harder path, because it leads to the truth. Those who search outside themselves for approval live in a dream. They shape their lives around the expectations of others, trying to fit into standards that constantly shift. This pursuit creates anxiety because approval is never stable. What pleases one person today may disappoint another tomorrow. Living for approval is like chasing shadows. You run endlessly but never catch fulfillment. Jung warned that those who look outside are dreaming, often living a life that is not truly theirs. Instead of authenticity, they wear masks, hoping to be accepted, but in the process they lose themselves. External approval enslaves the spirit. When your sense of worth depends on applause, criticism becomes unbearable. Your freedom shrinks because your choices are dictated by how others might respond. Dreams built this way are fragile illusions. They vanish quickly, leaving emptiness where authenticity should have been. To awaken is to see the dream for what it is. Approval outside may feel rewarding, but it can never define you. Real life begins when you look within. The search for validation ends. The dream collapses. What remains is the authentic self, ready to live awake and free. Awakening begins the moment you turn inward. By looking inside, you discover desires, fears, and truths that cannot be seen in the mirror of society. The authentic self does not emerge from applause or judgment. It emerges when you listen to your own heart with honesty and courage. Looking inside means facing discomfort. You encounter weaknesses you tried to hide and dreams you abandoned. Yet within this confrontation lies liberation. By acknowledging your inner world, you awaken a self that is not shaped by expectation, but by truth. Authenticity replaces illusion when you dare to look inward. The authentic self is powerful because it is free. It does not bend to every opinion or collapse under every criticism. Instead, it stands grounded in inner clarity. By looking inside, you align your life with values that are uniquely yours. Awakening is simply living from that alignment. Jung reminded us, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. The dream is dependency on others. The awakening is independence of soul. When you choose to look inward, you open your eyes to the reality of who you are. And reality is always stronger than the dream. Jung's timeless truth is captured in a single line. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. To look outside is to live under illusions created by society, family, and culture. It is to chase approval and mistake borrowed standards for genuine identity, a life half-lived. Dreams shaped by others feel safe, but they are prisons. You imagine success means fitting in, wealth means fulfillment, and recognition means love. Yet these are illusions. They vanish when circumstances change. To live by them is to remain asleep, mistaking the dream of society for the reality of self. Looking inside awakens you to freedom. You see your fears and strengths, your flaws and gifts, without disguise. The authentic self rises from within, untouched by the shifting demands of others. Awakening is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you truly are. The punchline is profound. The world outside offers dreams, but only within lies awakening. Those who seek approval sleepwalk through life. Those who turn inward live awake. Jung's wisdom is a call to courage. Stop dreaming someone else's dream and awaken to the authentic self waiting inside you. Compassion begins with honesty about ourselves. When you admit that you too are capable of anger, envy, and cruelty, you stop pretending to be pure. This recognition softens judgment. You no longer see others as monsters, but as fellow humans wrestling with the same hidden shadows within. Understanding your own darkness creates space for empathy. Instead of asking how could they, you realize under similar circumstances you might have acted the same. This humility does not excuse wrongdoing, but it explains it. Awareness of your own flaws becomes the bridge to understanding the struggles of others. Jung believed that knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. If you deny your capacity for harm, you project it outward and condemn others. If you accept it, you meet people with compassion instead of self-righteous hostility. Recognizing your shadow nurtures forgiveness. You can hold people accountable without hatred. You can reject harmful actions without rejecting humanity itself. Empathy grows naturally when you see that everyone is doing the best they can with the tools and circumstances they were given, just as you are. No one is born evil. Every action arises from circumstances, upbringing, and experiences. People act within the limits of the tools they possess. Some carry wounds that shape their choices. Others inherit burdens that cloud judgment. Recognizing this truth replaces condemnation with understanding and turns judgment into compassion. When we acknowledge that behavior reflects circumstance, we see others differently. The person who lashes out may be carrying years of unprocessed pain. The one who struggles to trust may have lived through betrayal. Their actions are not excusable, but they are explainable when seen through the lens of history. This perspective encourages humility. If you had lived their life, walked their path, and faced their trials, you might not have done better. This realization is uncomfortable but liberating. It reminds you that empathy is not weakness. It is clarity born from seeing yourself in another's struggle. Everyone acts from the circumstances they were given, and so do you. Understanding this builds patience. It allows you to respond with compassion instead of quick condemnation. Jung's wisdom is simple. By recognizing the forces shaping others, we learn to carry both accountability and mercy in equal measure. When you know your own shadow, judgment loses its sharpness. You see anger in another and remember the times you too were angry. You witness fear in someone else and recall your own trembling. Recognition of your own darkness softens the impulse to condemn and invites compassion instead. Judgment thrives on denial. When you refuse to see your shadow, you project it outward. You accuse others of what you cannot admit in yourself. But when you face your flaws directly, projection weakens. Criticism turns to empathy. You realize they are not so different from you after all. This humility transforms relationships. You stop expecting perfection from others because you no longer demand it from yourself. Compassion grows where judgment once ruled. By owning your shadow, you extend grace. You hold people accountable without cruelty and understand that behind every action lies struggle you cannot fully see. The punchline is powerful. Knowing your own shadow softens your judgment of others. It teaches patience, nurtures forgiveness, and builds connection. Jung's wisdom reminds us that true understanding does not come from idealizing humanity, but from recognizing its flaws honestly. In shared imperfection, we discover shared humanity. Jung observed that love and power rarely coexist. Where love rules, power is unnecessary. Connection, empathy, and trust replace domination. But where power dominates, love disappears. Control and manipulation suffocate compassion. These two forces oppose each other, and the presence of one always signals the absence of the other. The pursuit of power often masks a hunger for love. Those who cannot open their hearts seek control instead. They mistake authority for respect and dominance for safety. Yet power gained this way isolates the soul. It creates fear rather than intimacy, and emptiness rather than fulfillment. Where love rules, relationships flourish. There's no need to dominate because trust replaces fear. Power dissolves naturally in the presence of genuine care. Families grow stronger, friendships deepen, and societies stabilize when love, not control, is the guiding force. Love frees, power enslaves. The difference is absolute. The lesson is urgent for our time. Humanity suffers from an excess of power and a scarcity of love. Jung's wisdom calls us back to balance. To restore love is to weaken the grip of control. To choose love is to choose freedom. Power cannot coexist with true love. The modern world is filled with systems of control, but starved of genuine love. Institutions regulate behavior, governments impose rules, corporations manipulate desire. Yet behind all this power, people feel more isolated, anxious, and disconnected. Control grows stronger while compassion grows weaker, leaving humanity spiritually hungry. Society rewards domination. Success is measured by how much power you hold, how many people you influence, how tightly you can control outcomes. But Jung warned that this obsession with control reveals an absence of love. The more we cling to power, the further we drift from connection. The consequences are visible everywhere. Families fracture because control replaces care. Communities weaken when authority is valued more than empathy. Nations fall into conflict when leaders seek domination instead of understanding. The world suffers not from lack of intelligence or resources, but from lack of love guiding human action. Healing begins when we reverse the equation. Instead of seeking power, we cultivate compassion. Instead of grasping for control, we practice trust. Jung's wisdom reminds us that love is not weakness but strength. Only love can replace the emptiness created by domination. Without it, the world remains broken. Power may build empires, but only love builds humanity. Power commands obedience, but love inspires devotion. Power enforces control, but love nurtures freedom. At every crossroad you are given a choice between the two. Jung's wisdom is clear. Choose love over power, because love sustains while power corrodes. The pursuit of power leaves emptiness. It isolates the heart and corrupts the soul. You may win influence, wealth, and recognition, but without love these victories taste hollow. Power fades when circumstances change, but love endures. What you give in love multiplies long after control disappears. Choosing love over power does not mean weakness. It means strength of a different kind. Love creates courage, patience, and empathy. It resolves conflicts without violence and heals wounds that power cannot touch. Every act of love expands possibility. Every act of power without love narrows it. The punchline is undeniable. Choose love over power always. When love leads, power dissolves naturally. When power dominates, love vanishes. To build a life, a relationship, or a society worth living in, the answer is the same. Choose compassion. Choose connection. Choose love, and you will never regret the choice. Words are easy to speak. Promises flow freely, but actions reveal truth. You are not the plans you describe or the goals you announce. You are defined by what you practice daily. Jung reminded us that identity is action, not intention, movement, not mere declaration. Many hide behind words. They speak of dreams but never pursue them. They promise change but repeat the same behavior. The world listens to words but believes only action. You can say you are kind, but kindness is proven only by consistent deeds, not by empty declarations. Action creates credibility. It builds reputation and character. Even small actions accumulate into a portrait of who you are. Silence combined with integrity speaks louder than speeches filled with false conviction. Life does not remember what you said you would do. It remembers what you actually did. To live authentically, let actions carry your identity. Speak less, act more. Choose alignment between words and deeds. Jung's wisdom reminds us that the true self is measured not in promises but in practice. You are not what you say. You are what you do every single day. Plans fill journals and speeches fill rooms, but without action they dissolve into nothing. Words may inspire, but only deeds transform. Many people dream of change, yet remain unchanged because intention never becomes execution. A plan without action is only imagination, and words without deeds are only noise. Action is the bridge between vision and reality. You can declare values, speak goals, and outline steps, but until you move, nothing shifts. Life responds not to promises but to behavior. The world changes only when thought becomes movement. Action alone gives substance to the shadows of intention. This truth is sobering but liberating. You do not need perfect plans or endless words. You need a single act done with consistency. Plans matter when they are lived. Words matter when they are embodied. Jung's wisdom reminds us that actions reveal identity, not fantasies or declarations. Plans and words carry potential, but no weight until acted upon. Action makes them real. Dreams are sustained by deeds. The self is not the architect's drawing, but the building constructed. The difference between wishing and becoming is always action. Without it, even the most beautiful vision remains empty. Promises are easy to make but hard to keep. They create hope in others and comfort in yourself, yet without action, they become betrayal. Jung's wisdom is sharp here. You are not what you promise to do. You are defined entirely by the choices you act upon. A person can speak endlessly of kindness, yet if they never show compassion, the words are empty. Another may never speak of generosity, yet their consistent actions prove it. Identity is not built on declarations. It is forged in repeated behavior. You are always what you consistently do. This truth holds power. It means your reputation, your relationships, and your legacy are determined by actions, not intentions. The promises forgotten vanish quickly. The actions remembered endure. A life is not measured by what was said, but by what was lived, step by step, deed by deed. The punchline is undeniable. You are what you do, not what you promise. Words are wind, promises are shadows. Actions are reality. If you want to become someone new, act differently. The world does not believe promises, it believes actions. And actions, repeated, create the person you truly are. The past is a weight only if you keep carrying it. Memories may teach, but they should not imprison. Jung reminded us that freedom begins the moment you release the grip of history. Leave the past where it belongs and embrace the conscious choice waiting in the present. Conscious choice means living awake. It means refusing to act from old wounds or unconscious patterns. Every moment offers a decision that can break cycles and create new beginnings. To cling to the past is to repeat it. To embrace conscious choice is to create something new. Leaving the past does not mean forgetting. It means learning without being defined. Trauma, mistakes, and failures shape you, but they do not own you. The future is not written by what was done, but by what you decide now. Conscious choice writes a story untouched by yesterday's shadow. This is the turning point of growth. When you let go of history's chains, you become free to choose with clarity. Jung's wisdom is a reminder that the past is not identity. Choice is. Leave the past, embrace conscious choice, and step fully into the life waiting ahead. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility, but the alignment of action with meaning. When your choices reflect your deepest values, life gains clarity. Jung believed that meaning transforms suffering and directs growth. Action without meaning is distraction. Action with meaning is liberation, creating purpose and authentic direction. Many chase freedom through indulgence, believing it means doing whatever they please. Yet indulgence often becomes another chain. Real freedom emerges when action follows purpose. Every choice grounded in meaning frees you from confusion. You no longer wander aimlessly. You move with direction, carried by the truth within. Meaning is the compass. Without it, action scatters energy into chaos. With it, every step builds strength. Even struggles lose their bitterness when guided by purpose. Pain becomes part of progress, and obstacles transform into teachers. Freedom grows not from escape, but from embracing meaningful action in daily life. The wisdom is simple. Do not confuse freedom with impulse. Freedom arises from discipline in service of what matters. Action guided by meaning liberates you from emptiness. It creates a life where every moment counts. Jung's insight calls us to live with intention, because freedom follows meaning. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility, but the alignment of action with meaning. When your choices reflect your deepest values, life gains clarity. Jung believed that meaning transforms suffering and directs growth. Action without meaning is distraction. Action with meaning is liberation, creating purpose and authentic direction. Many chase freedom through indulgence, believing it means doing whatever they please. Yet indulgence often becomes another chain. Real freedom emerges when action follows purpose. Every choice grounded in meaning frees you from confusion. You no longer wander aimlessly. You move with direction, carried by the truth within. Meaning is the compass. Without it, action scatters energy into chaos. With it, every step builds strength. Even struggles lose their bitterness when guided by purpose. Pain becomes part of progress, and obstacles transform into teachers. Freedom grows not from escape, but from embracing meaningful action in daily life. The wisdom is simple. Do not confuse freedom with impulse. Freedom arises from discipline in service of what matters. Action guided by meaning liberates you from emptiness. It creates a life where every moment counts. Jung's insight calls us to live with intention, because freedom follows meaning.